Good evening. It all got very quiet very quickly. Good evening and welcome. My name's Emma Brown. I'm a director of the Simcoe and District Chamber of Commerce. So we would like to acknowledge the territory of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Attawandaron, upon which the County of Norfolk stands, and where many of us live and work. We strive to honor the Two-Row Wampum Belt Treaty as respectful neighbors on this land. We would also like to pay respect to the elders of Turtle Island, also known as North America, both past and present, and extend that respect to all Indigenous peoples. Can I ask everyone to rise to sing the national anthem? Thank you. You're all lovely singers. So I would like to introduce Sue Downs, President of the Simcoe and District Chamber of Commerce.
Oh boy. Okay, good evening everyone. Sponsors for tonight's debate are the Waterford Chamber of Commerce, and Carrie's here tonight from the Waterford District Chamber of Commerce, so thank you. And also the Port Dover Board of Trade. As well, we've got some board members here this evening. We've got Catherine Akins, Allison Muir, Emma Brown, and Kirby Sheik. And our timer for this evening is Wendy Brown. She's a board member of the Simcoe District Chamber of Commerce as well, too. Elections are an important part of the democratic process. The Simcoe District Chamber of Commerce is dedicated to facilitating a process where you can find out what the candidates stand for so you can make an informed decision on October the 24th. Tonight, the questions have been compiled by members of the Chamber of Commerce and the general public prior to this evening. Questions have been vetted by the Executive Committee of the Chamber to ensure that the candidates are asked relevant questions that are important to our community. There will be no questions from the floor this evening. Okay, we also ask, tonight the event is being live streamed. So we are asking everybody to please hold any applause. We don't want any hollering, we don't want any yelling out, we don't want any booing. We do have people here, and unfortunately, if anybody does get a little bit out of hand, we are going to ask you to leave because the event itself is being live streamed. We need to be respectful for all of the candidates, and at the exact same time, we need to make sure that everybody can hear while they're listening at home. Okay, I guess I already said that. Oh, the bathrooms are located off to the right. The exits are at the back of the room and to my left in the event of an emergency. Okay, so an introduction of the mayoral candidates. This evening we have Dave Bate, Crystal Chop, Bill Culver, Amy Martin, and Ian Rabbits. Part one of tonight's debate will be the opening remarks. Each candidate has 2 minutes for their opening remarks and 2 minutes at their closing. When we get to the question part, everyone will have one answer. And when we get to the 52nd, that's when Wendy will ring her little bell. There we go. That's your example. Okay, so now we're going to start with the opening remarks. So at this time, I'd like to start with Dave Bate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me go first.
You're welcome.
All right. My name's Dave Bate. I've lived in Norfolk County most of my life. I presently live with my wife Tammy in Simcoe. We run a very large heating business, BHI, and that's who I am. Anyway, I do a lot of volunteer work because I believe volunteers in this community are needed very much. I volunteer for the youth theaters, the Lions. We used to have Norfolk Had Talent. We had that going a long time. I do a lot of volunteer work for the Humane Society. We love to get that building up and running. I've done different volunteers work for Riverside 83, which is going to be an awesome building once it's done. And I leave it up to Crystal.
There you go. Looks like you've got an easy job tonight, Wendy. You don't even have to use your bell. Okay, so next up is Crystal Chop.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It seems like only yesterday that I was up on this very stage 4 years ago making my pitch to be your new mayor. These events do much to shape our local governance and thus the trajectory of our communities. I want to thank the Simcoe and District Chamber for providing a fair, neutral forum where everyone can gather and inform themselves about the issues. One of the things that troubles me the most over the past 4 years is the way democracy, even at a local level, is being subverted by people delivering you a fire hose of falsehoods in order to serve their own selfish ends. I said it in 2018, and I'm telling you again, no one was really being upfront with you about the state of the county's finances. Norfolk ran deficits every single year since 2012, and on a per capita basis, we were in a negative net financial position, meaning our debts and liabilities exceeded our investments and savings. I promised you transparency regarding Norfolk's finances, and you got it. We exposed more skeletons in the closet than I care to count. So where did your reserves go? A few examples. Provincial offenses revenue was being overstated by $250,000 year over year, ICE rentals by $50,000, post-retirement benefits to the tune of $300,000 never accounted for. Creative accounting on paper made it look like you could charge the taxpayer less, but at the end of the day, the money had to come from somewhere. Trust me, that's only a sample of what was unearthed in the finance department. Then a problem with our water, similar in scale to our financial issues, came to light, which dwarfed the concerns that prompted me to get involved in the first place. Despite our then GM of Public Works proclaiming publicly that there was absolutely no problem with the water, something about the numbers just didn't add up. Sure enough, we were issuing building permits like they were candy when legally we should not have been. I was the one that exposed that problem because you don't mess with people's water. We are in the process of raising our development charges for a second time because taxpayers should not have to pay for future growth. Is that 50 seconds?
Okay, and okay, next, Bill Culver.
Good evening. I'm Bill Culver. I'm not going to discuss how old I am or where I was born. I want to get right to it. I want to talk about the issues that I've been hearing from businesses and citizens just like you. Council, I believe, has created an attitude to the public of non-response. This means not returning calls to the taxpayers or the public. This attitude is filtered through the entire administration and needs to stop. To this I say we are in the same canoe. We must all paddle, and we must paddle together. It is so important as a councillor/mayor to return those calls and listen to the public. They are the boss. The mayor and council are the spokespeople. It is not acceptable for staff and council to take weeks to respond. I know I have the ability and the skill to create an environment where people are being heard. The county needs to work hand in hand with both the federal and provincial governments and representatives to address affordable housing. This means having a plan for land and sites that are street ready. It also means rethinking how we develop these sites. Our aging population needs places to live within Norfolk, and long-term care homes are being pushed to their limits. The local cannabis issue is one that needs serious attention. It is not a tourist attraction, and citizens should be able to sit in their yards and not be inundated with the odor. The product may be legal, but the growers need to adhere to proper standards and licensing. Another issue is obtaining permits, zoning, and minor variances. Staff are not the gatekeepers. Council needs to set clear direction and have the key staff in place to respond quickly. We can't say open for business, we need to prove it. Our current methods are unacceptable, have created frustration and anger. We need to restore the attitude in our county is back to one of pride. Norfolk is a great place to live, and we should be proud to call it home.
Amy Martin.
Well, thank you, everyone. Good evening. I'd like to not only thank you for your attendance, but thank you for putting in the research to make sure that we're ensuring the best possible choice for Norfolk's future. I'd like to thank the Waterford and Simcoe Chamber, as well as the Port Dover Board of Trade, and I'd also like to, believe it or not, thank my fellow candidates for giving Norfolk choice. My name is Amy Martin, and I have lived in Norfolk County my entire life. It has been a very great privilege to serve on Norfolk County Council over the last 4 years, 2 of which as Deputy Mayor. I have a degree in psychology from York University, and believe it or not, that is also very applicable in the political realm. My husband and I own a home in Port Dover, and we look forward to living, working, and playing in Norfolk County for many years to come. My previous work experience is in the not-for-profit sector with both the Heart and Stroke Foundation and the MS Society of Canada across Brant, Haldimand, and Norfolk counties, but my passion is for home. Serving my community, improving on it, and bringing about positive change with a positive attitude. Norfolk deserves a community-oriented leader that celebrates and respects our story, and we deserve to be the recipient of opportunities that we can all benefit from. I'm dedicated to our great community and the work that needs to be done within it. I deeply respect our history, our heritage, and culture, but I also recognize that our future requires care and direction moving forward. If elected, I'll focus on the following 5 pillars: updating community infrastructure, appropriate communication and transparency, positive relationship building, restoring and strengthening our reputation, and succession planning for Norfolk's future. Currently, the system is stacked against us. We have massive infrastructure upgrades, we've almost hit our ceiling on debt, and simultaneously have old debt payments that we need to pay up and come due. Plus, we're seeing a 39-year high on inflation. It's time to stabilize Norfolk County's leadership with someone who's already proven their leadership over the last 4 years. Thank you.
Okay, and Ian Rabbits.
Thank you. My name is Ian Rabbits, and I'm a candidate for mayor in the Norfolk County 2022 election. I want to start off by providing my mission statement. My mission is to provide the citizens of Norfolk County with progressive, ethical, and compassionate leadership. My vision is to ensure that Norfolk County flourishes as a prosperous, desirable, and safe community. I want to achieve this vision through modernization, long-term financial planning, and adherence to the highest standards of public safety. My values: those who have spent the majority of their lives living and working in Norfolk County will appreciate that we have our own unique culture and system of values here. Each of our urban centers and hamlets have their own unique identity, and I identify with these values and want to make sure that we're maintaining the integrity in our small communities and our urban centers. I want to make sure their voices are heard in each ward. As mayor, I'll continue to promote an inclusive Norfolk with opportunities for any who wish to live, work, and conduct business here. My campaign platform, the pledges revolve around responsible governance, leading by example and serving through experience, listening to your constituents. I wish to provide a clear economic development plan that will provide us with a path forward. What I have to offer is I'm a certified human resources leader with experience working in municipal, private, not-for-profit, and charitable workplace settings. I'm a graduate of Brock University, Niagara College, and Conestoga College. I'll bring my unique technical background to the role of mayor in areas of political science, human resources management, and public relations. Why am I running? Serving on council is a privilege, and I aspire to provide those in our community with the very best. I have a vested interest in this community, being the 4th generation to live here. I'm proud of Norfolk County. Our community has much to offer. and I believe that only by working together can we ensure a strong future for Norfolk County. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So we're going to start our question period. So just a reminder to the candidates, you have 1 minute to answer the question. We're going to begin in alphabetical order. Please be mindful of time and listen for the bell, which will let you know that you have 10 seconds remaining. The bell will ring again at 1 minute. Question number 1. Running an effective council requires cohesive teamwork. How do you plan on leading in situations where conflict is present?
Conflict in between the two parties and situate. When I work with volunteers and we have a conflict, I get the parties together and we talk and we plan how we can resolve this conflict, right? I think the mayor and the council, all of us, should be united into one, and we should deal with the taxpayers directly. So when we do vote, I mean, leave it up just a few people to vote on very important things. We should go back to the taxpayers and let them vote on it, like if we're going to sell off things or buy things, correct? But to have conflict in between us on the council is just, no, it just can't be done. Go ahead.
Sometimes I wonder if people watch council meetings in other areas, because I think that there is conflict on almost every council out there. People have different priorities in competing wards, and you know, certainly I think the falling out between one another member and I sitting up here perhaps highlighted some issues that were there that wouldn't have otherwise existed. But at the end of the day, you know, conflict is present in every environment, and it can challenge people to get better ideas. And I think that is, you know, it's a hallmark actually of a good. If everybody gets along and everybody agrees, you're not pushing anything forward. I certainly think in terms of a municipal context, I myself am probably the biggest penny pincher on council, and I think sometimes it's good for me to have people that are fellow councillors that are more perhaps socially oriented than I am.
Well, conflict is a positive thing, or it can be a positive thing. We don't all come to the table with the same beliefs or the same desires, and it's a normal occurrence. But I think that conflict, it has to be resolved at the table, and when the issue is done and it's dealt with, it's over with. It's move on and move forward and move on to the next thing. And I've had some past experience on that. You don't win everything you go to the table with. It's a give and take, and you have to have that give and take. And that's how you resolve conflict. You listen to the other person's concerns, you hear them out, and sometimes you won't come to that perfect solution. You have to hit that middle ground, and that's just not around the council table. That can be with the taxpayers in general. Not everybody's going to agree with that decision, but you still have to face up to that taxpayer when they make that phone call to you and face up to the issue.
Well, I have to agree. I believe that conflict can actually manifest itself in a lot of different ways around the council table. It also could be called accountability and democracy when you're in a position where you're supposed to debate these issues at work. The issue I have is that when that conflict no longer is surrounded by debate and it manifests itself in an unhealthy way within our corporation and within our community. We've seen some divisive sectors across Norfolk County in various wards and various cohorts like recreation and agriculture and so on. I think that I personally have used my voice. I've showed up and I've stayed there. I have advocated. I've certainly learned a lot, and I'm not perfect, but I have advocated for proper procedure and better decorum, and I believe that it's time for us to start working together to put our best foot forward. If we're going to make national news, let's do it for the right reasons.
Thank you all again. Conflict is inevitable, and There's two types of conflict, really. There's relationship-based conflict, which can be very destructive and disruptive to have a healthy argument, and there's constructive conflict that can help us move forward. As mayor, I would stick to Robert's rules. A mayor speaks last. A mayor allows their council to ask questions first, and a mayor is there to support their council in ultimately making a decision. A mayor's not there to dominate their council or subvert their will. A mayor's there to facilitate a conversation. And in sticking with Robert's rules, I have my own philosophy. It's Rabbit's rules. It's a little bit more friendly, it's a little bit more open, and it's a little bit more encouraging of a healthy discussion. I'm not afraid of having a healthy argument, a good argument, but that's the point. We're there to advance the community's best interests, and we need to do it in a constructive way.
Okay, thank you. Just a reminder again about the event being live streamed, so any comments after somebody answers a question, if you could please keep those on hold. Question number 2, the state of Norfolk's recreation facilities was an issue in the last municipal election, and the proposed development of recreational hub was a big issue for the current council. Do you see this as a priority issue? Please explain your answer. We'll start with Crystal.
Well, I think we definitely need to improve our recreational facilities. Haldeman's oldest arena is actually newer than our newest. You know, one of the biggest challenges for us is we had to get our finances in line. Is there the money there to build a $50 million recreational facility? Absolutely not. We had to have provincial and federal funding in order to be able to move forward with that. And unfortunately, due to COVID, frankly, I don't see money like that coming around for some years to come, which is why staff made the decision. We had the Simcoe Seniors as an example in the Pond Street building for years, 10 years, I believe they had been asking for a new home. The Pond Street building was infested with mold. And so you have to take, you know, advantage of the assets you do have, and I think staff has put together a good strategy that will last us into the coming years when maybe we have some water to actually move forward with some development.
Thank you. Bill Culver, please.
Well, thank you, and I guess I've been around this community long enough to know, and I was part of that new build on that fairly recent one, which is now the Talbot Gardens, so, and we were certainly proud of it when that got completed, but I'm the first to admit that a lot of our recreational facilities are aged, and I mean the rec center has been a problem for many, many years, and you know, I think the previous council had attempted to address that through the creation of the hub, and perhaps if the hub would have been done with that all-inclusive, and certainly there was conflict, but all-inclusive and including the province from day one and not kick them in the teeth, I think that might have had a different outcome. And also, in terms of where the hub was located, I think that the West End felt excluded on that process. And, you know, that's the group we're a big area here. We need to bring that together and get everybody's concerns at the table, so.
Thank you. Amy?
Yeah, this is a great question, and I agree. So one community should not gain something at the expense of another, and that was a massive error when we took a look at this project. It really pitted the East versus the West and who gets what and where tax dollars are being spent. So I think the first thing, is it a priority? To answer the question directly, yes, it's still a priority. Why? Because the issue still remains. The catalyst behind this issue was aging infrastructure in Simcoe, everywhere certainly, but in Simcoe that was extremely problematic and on the capital budget forecasted for repairs in the coming future. So is it still a priority? Yes, because those repairs have not been made. That issue has not gone away. What do we do about it? I don't think that we drive right back into this project. We obviously have a lot of commitments we need to make to the West End and make sure that there are equitable recreation services from left to right. But I think we get a project ready and we shelf it. And when the funding comes available, Norfolk County is ready to play.
Okay. Ian?
Thank you. I'm very much interested in promoting opportunities for recreation for both youth and seniors, active adults that are raising families and have some tight timelines for when they can get to the pool or get to the rink. I'm very interested in creating a new pool or creating a new sheet of ice in our community. I don't think the conversation has stopped. We were unsuccessful in getting the hub, and as upsetting as that was and as divisive as it was in the community, the future of our recreation needs have not yet been met. If the business case was there to build a recreational hub, certainly with the sacrifices we've made, shutting down the rec center, moving that sheet of ice to Waterford for summer ice, certainly their business plan is still there to build a new modern facility taking advantage of energy savings, something that is sustainable, whether that's retrofitting an existing building. We need to look at our asset management plan and see a business plan and asset management plan that would fit our community's needs.
Thank you. Okay, Dave?
Okay. On the hub alone, the hub, I don't know if people knew, but the Lions and different communities that raised money for the town was willing to put a lot of money towards the hub. Right? The ponds and different families were willing to put money towards the hub, and we still are. And with raising funds for certain things, like we were at down Waterford raising money for the skate park. They want to get a skate park in Waterford. How do you do it? You raise funds, have a fundraiser. The Foodland had a fundraiser. They're coming up. They're going to have a big fundraiser at Legion to make more money for the skate park. And I think we can do the same in Simcoe. To get a skate park going, we could get somebody like Sobeys or something to get on board, like Foodland did, and build ourselves a skate park. With the hub, we need more ice. I've had a lot of people tell me, and ladies skaters, and I'm done. All right, go ahead. I like this bill.
Okay. So we're going to move on to a debate question.
Our debate.
So here's the rules. There are going to be 8 to 10 minutes for the debate. Candidates will stay in the same order for the debate question. Other candidates will have the option to comment by raising their hand. The order will be judged by the order in which the candidate raises their hand. The rebuttal length is 45 seconds. Candidates can speak to the debate topic only twice, unless another candidate's comment is directed to a candidate. In that case, the candidate may speak on the subject. The moderator, that's me, has the final say on the order of speakers. So we're going to start with Bill. The question is, over the past term of council, there have been numerous staffing changes, including at the senior management level. For example, there have been 6 chief administrative officers in a permanent or acting role since 2018. What would you say about the turnover in staff at Norfolk County?
How long do I have?
You have 2 minutes.
All I can say is, to start it off, wow. I certainly don't have the numbers of what that staff turnover has cost, and I'm not sure that the costing is even done on that, because I'm not sure that all that fallout has all happened. But I will say this, that I know a lot of those staff turnover personally that live here in Norfolk County, and a lot of them were good, solid people that they just, I think a lot of them just simply wanted to move on, not just terminated, but some of them moved on to greener pastures, simpler life because of how they were treated. And I've had conversation with some of those staff that have moved on, and I know some of them personally, but simply in a nutshell, wow. I mean, how can you be focused and move forward when you keep changing your CAO, like I change my socks or whatever you change every day? That simply can't happen. Those people are part of your continuity. They're your frontline people, and they need to take the direction, those people that are there, they need to take the direction from council. Council is the direction, the policymakers. I'm not the human resources department. I'm not going to pick and choose those staff. Collectively, council does that together. And when you pick one, I think you should pick one that you think is going to last. And if you don't like them, you don't just throw them back out. So, but in a nutshell, wow, it's cost huge dollars. What's it cost to replenish that staff person, bring that new staff person in, train that new staff person, know the ways of council and how council functions. So, yeah, it's a problem. And I don't think anybody in this room would disagree with that.
Amy?
Yeah, that's definitely the big elephant in the room at Norfolk County, and when we talk about what it's cost the taxpayers for a variety of positions and turnover, certainly we do have some of those metrics, but to say that we knew would be untruthful. We don't know because when this council initially came in, we made some big budget decisions, some big staffing decisions, and that was supposed to be studied and demonstrated efficiencies to us, and that has yet to happen. Currently, Norfolk County, we had a staff report that came out that presented a 46 vacancy turnover rate. I believe that you will hear here today that that is not actually what it is. However, I would challenge that and say that is the same metric that has been used for several years to calculate our vacancy turnover rate at Norfolk County. But at the end of the day, what it costs the taxpayers, well, we don't know because we're onboarding new staff. There's a lot of time for them to learn their new role and get caught up. Those efficiencies are very difficult to recapture. But that being said, we've also made great changes where we shifted to work from home in the pandemic to try to keep operations efficient and so on. That's been challenged as well. But no, at the end of the day, is this appropriate? Is this helpful? Is this a good use of tax dollars? No, it stymies services. We certainly hear from the public all the time about poor customer service. That's negatively impacted. A lot of our positions have been filled just by staff members moving up into those positions. They haven't necessarily been properly replaced. So there is a lot of work to do inside the corporation of Norfolk County to ensure efficient use of tax dollars and proper service delivery, and we're not there yet.
Ian.
Thank you. Simply put, the staff turnover and the morale is simply unacceptable at Norfolk County Council. It's been a tough 4 years. It really takes leadership from the top to make sure that our staff feel welcome. We've really moved away from being an employer of choice in our area. We've really moved away from being a learning culture where our staff members feel supported, where their leadership is painting a picture and a vision and including them in it. When we have these vacancies taking place, you don't get the services that are being offered. You're seeing information about salary gapping and savings in terms of not filling and paying for positions, but those items were budgeted to pay for services so that when you give us a phone call, someone's returning that call. When you're sending an email, you're getting a timely response. And simply put, the amount of turnover that we've experienced is absolutely unacceptable. I know many of these staff members that have taken lateral moves to other communities to do a very similar position, and they still live in our community. I'm really hopeful that if we have a change in leadership at the top, if we have a change in our culture at Norfolk County, some of these individuals may very well return to us. We've had a few come back in the end of 2022. We've had some return. I'm hoping that they're hopeful that they'll see a change in leadership, and maybe that has brought them back to Norfolk County. The grass isn't always greener on the other side, and municipalities throughout southwestern Ontario all have their challenges. I've been advocating for human resources implementation for a variety of different systems. At Norfolk County Council, I haven't always been successful in those efforts and that advocacy. I'm only one vote on council as a councillor, but I really do depend on my council and my colleagues to support these policy choices when they're being made and when the motions are being brought forward. Thank you.
So Bill, I saw your hand up. Just hold that thought. We're going to go to Dave, and then we're going to go to Crystal, and then we'll come back to you. So Dave.
With this subject here, I'm not familiar. Most of the people that have been laid off or left or different reasons that they've gone. What I know is I know a lot of the town workers that work for the town that have been laid off, and I know a couple of individuals were laid off with no reason at all for being laid off, and now they just moved on. And I got a few others that are just thinking about leaving the town and going somewhere else. They don't explain. I haven't talked to these gentlemen, but they haven't explained why they want to leave. But these are town workers. We need town workers. We need the parks looked after. Okay? That's about all I know about this subject. I don't know about in-house and who got laid off and who got moved or whatever. I don't know all these people. I know most of the people who are sitting here, but that's all I know about this subject. It's the town guys. So, go ahead. You have a question, lady.
Crystal.
Headline in the paper, turnover, job vacancies climbing, 535 positions open, hoping to be able to fill 425. Voluntary turnover rate, retirements, resignations, 12.5%, up from 7.8% in 2018. Sound like Norfolk County to you? It's not. It's Oxford County, today's paper. Norfolk County, 13%. Is what we actually saw. 429 vacancies in 2017, 430 vacancies in 2021, and that was dealing with a public health crisis. It might behoove my colleagues to review the meeting minutes because the endorsement of the recommendations to terminate almost all of our senior leadership team was overwhelmingly supportive because it was abundantly clear to everyone that without change, Norfolk County was headed off a cliff. I distinctly recall our then head of public works saying at a public meeting of council, again, that there was absolutely no problem with the water. It is not true. Our finance staff, if you speak to them, they knew they needed change as well. We have brought in more policies and corrected more errors in Norfolk County's accounting than I care to count, and I'm happy to speak with any one of you about that at any time. As far as CAOs go, we had 2 hiring processes, 2. Jason Burgess and now Al Meneses. Harry Schlang was here on a temporary basis. Harry is an expert in the municipal world and is well known for his restructuring of municipalities. And that was why we brought him in.
Bill?
Thank you. I believe it was Ian just commented that those phone calls or those emails are being returned by staff, and I don't believe that because that's a daily thing for me, Ian, and I'm not sure whether staff are telling you they're returning those emails or phone calls, and it's certainly true with councilors also. I'm received 2 emails in the last week, and this goes back to May, and he called everybody, and I don't have any reason to doubt the gentleman. He's received no response. So he reached out to me, and I said, well, I'm not the mayor, I'm not the councilors, but I said, I'll investigate, but it is a problem. So, Ian, I guess, can you explain to me, are those emails or calls being returned?
Ian?
Thank you. Unfortunately, not all of them. And the point that I was making was that when you have small bench strength, you don't have all of these key positions filled. Many of the times when you're reaching out to your counselor, you're reaching out to your mayor, they're then following up with staff who are either on vacation or you're hitting a desk that's essentially empty. And I go through the same issues that the resident does. When they're attempting to contact staff members and get a response, I'm not an expert in all these different fields, whether it be a drainage issue, whether it be a bylaw concern. I'm attempting to resolve those issues and follow up, but I need to work with my professional staff to give a professional response rather than just trying to blow smoke.
Is your hand up, Crystal? Or
Sure, it can be.
You go ahead.
You know, it's interesting. We talk about staff leaving, and I'm a little bit tired of the applesauce of it's the big bad mayor at Norfolk County. I know of several staff members that are quite frustrated with council, but it's not actually me that they're frustrated with, and I'm quite confident in the finances department, the people that are in my office, and their support of me, because they know that this nonsense isn't true. On 2 separate occasions, our former CAO, Jason Burgess, that left Norfolk County, left in part because he had to stand on a point of privilege to defend his integrity before council. It wasn't me making those accusations. Our finance department at one point was so frustrated that they had to make a Facebook video to explain a basic financial concept to councilors.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is interesting.
I wasn't there, so I got that.
Are there any other hands for this question? It's going once, going twice.
Okay, so this is the debate.
Okay, so on to the next question then. Norfolk has a multi-million-dollar legacy fund. How should the fund be used to best serve the county? And we'll start with Amy.
It would be my pleasure. I actually have to admit that 4 years ago, I spoke quite a bit about the Legacy Fund because as an advocate at the time for the community hub concept, many community members were advocating that we take out of that fund. I will admit that on a personal and council level, I believe that the ball has been dropped with sinking our teeth into the Legacy Fund and looking at additional options. We ran into some water issues, a couple of budget issues, and COVID. So it wasn't top of mind, but it is a very important issue that still deserves a fresh set of eyes and quite a bit of attention. We are limited here in the municipality with what we can invest in with the Legacy Fund. We can't drop it into the open market like you might do yourself. Our audited financial report said that the market value on the Legacy Fund is 77 million, up 76 from last year. It could be argued that it should be more. But I do believe that we should review where it is invested, how it's performing with more frequency. We actually passed a motion at council to be updated via email on those returns. And I am a firm believer in not touching that account because it preserves our credit rating. So reserving the principal and not touching it so that we have success in years to come when we apply for various grants on upper levels of provincial and federal level for funding. And but we know it's there. It's a legacy fund. It's not for potholes and property taxes. It's for legacy initiatives.
And Ian?
Thank you. The Legacy Fund is a unique investment opportunity for us here in Norfolk County. While we've lost a public utility with the sale of Norfolk Power and an incredible revenue stream for the county, this council and councils moving forward will have an investment in which the funds will maintain its principal. The interest earned provides us with an excellent source of liquidity. Our credit rating has improved as a result of having this stable legacy fund. It also allows us to invest in other financial instruments, short-term and medium-term investments that offer a quick turnaround so that we have a good cash flow in the county. So legacy fund is something that needs to be maintained, and I would agree with my colleagues that are very cautious as to dip into this fund. We don't want to affect the principal, and we certainly don't want to tap into our rainy day funds for those stormy days, and when the financial markets aren't performing, we can suffer a loss in this investment. We're kind of limited as to what we can invest in the one fund, in the legacy fund. So it is protected in a sense, but it is contributing to positive financial statements. I would encourage everyone to review our financial statements, which we have just made public through an audited financial statement. Our debt servicing is an issue. Moving forward, we are reaching our debt ceiling, and perhaps we need to look into some financial instruments from the proceeds of the legacy fund without dipping into the principal to make sure that we can be servicing our debt moving forward in the county.
So just a reminder, now that we're back to the regular questions, only the debate questions are 2 minutes, so we'll give all the other candidates 2 minutes to answer this one as well too then, because that one was 2 minutes, correct? Yeah, so we should be back to 1 minute, but we'll go 2 for this one right now. It's just the debate questions that they have 2 minutes to answer, right? Am I wrong?
That was a debate.
Alrighty, over to Dave then.
Well, the people that are sitting here right now have a lot out on me, because I have not studied what we have for a legacy fund or what kind of commitment or funds that we have available. But with some funds, there are infrastructures that should be looked after. West Street in front of the hospital should be looked after. Hunt Street going to the heliport should be looked after. It's just different things that we should take some kind of money or budget and do the important streets to our community. Because I don't know if you ever drove up West Street to go to the hospital, but you're not staying in the ambulance too good, okay? And I've talked to some of the ambulance drivers, and they gotta slow down to 20 just to get in the hospital. So some of this money that they're talking about should be put towards fixing certain streets in Simcoe and different areas. So, but with Ian saying that investing that and taking their investment money and putting it towards, right, that's a good thing. It is. Because to get to spend all of it, right? No, that's just taken away from the taxpayers. So,
Are you done?
I'm good.
No? Okay, so I guess we're next with Crystal then.
Crystal?
Use of the Legacy Fund for other projects. Well, I think everybody has heard the news that we actually we got our bond rating to go up last year, and that was following a year of worry amongst county staff that we were going to lose our bond rating. When we borrow money, part of the rate that we pay is based on our ability to repay. And if we have no savings in the bank, and the Legacy Fund, mark my words, was the only savings you had in the bank, remember I told you you were in a negative net financial position when we started. You had no reserves. The road reserve, as an example, was $20 million in the hole. Banks don't continue to lend money if they don't think that you have an ability to pay it back. In terms of the investment of the Legacy Fund, you also recall from the last election, I spoke about that too. We actually lost money on the investment in 2018. We paid more money in commission than the council at the time actually brought in. For whatever reason, I can say that I have been drumming on about this for 3 years, wanting to move it out of what's called the One Fund, and I have been met with opposition every step of the way. I am pleased to say that most recently, our finance team has finally come around on the idea, and we are coming out and shopping around for other alternatives. I've met with CIBC in the past to understand some of their instruments. I've had conversations with Haldeman to see what they're doing differently because their fund has far outperformed Norfolk County's fund. As an example, they use a thing called principal protected notes that there is no risk to the principal. And again, Norfolk County lost money in 2018. We pay hundreds of thousands in commission. The banks don't charge such a commission. I had an interesting conversation with a guy in Ottawa at AMO just in August. And he was telling me, some other different strategies the county could employ, buying 89-day notes for our 90-day payables. These are all things that my counselors should also get to learn and could have learned had they been at AMO instead of out campaigning.
Okay, Bill Culver.
Well, thank you, and certainly I'm familiar with the Legacy Fund, and I know how it got put there. It was from the sale of the former PUC, and that dates back probably to the 1918s from the water and sewer days. So a lot of the citizens within this community helped create that fund and a saleable asset that was purchased over to Ontario Hydro. So there we have this fund, and I guess the key is that we can preserve that fund, we invest it properly, get a good rate of return, and invest that rate of return. Don't spend the principal. None of us spend, you don't sell your house to go to Jamaica, right? So you simply spend the interest that's earned and preserve that fund, but it also gives you leverage. And some of these people around the table are quite correct about that if you have that big fund there, when you go to the bank to borrow money, it's like having your own property that's free and clear, and they'll say, sure, we'll give you a loan on that, right? So it puts you in a solid position. So never, never, never spend the principal. That belongs to everybody in this county. So leverage it, preserve it, and spend the interest on valid projects.
Okay, great. And just another reminder again, if everybody can keep any groans or moans or whatever at the end of any comments. Again, we're being live streamed, and we just want to make sure that everybody can hear what the candidates are saying. Thank you. This was not a
debate, but they gave us 2 minutes because Ian started.
Yeah, so these questions are only 1 minute.
So this is another 1-minuter, okay? So Norfolk County staff are projecting an increase of about 9% to the average residential taxpayer. Services are dwindling, water rates have skyrocketed, and seniors, along with all of us, are struggling. How will you address these issues and help to rectify it? We're going to start with Ian.
Thank you. This is a concern that I've been hearing door to door with the rising cost of living, with the gas prices, though they've subsided somewhat. It's a real concern facing a large property tax increase. I am a fiscal conservative, and I want to work with my council to ensure that we're being fiduciary responsible with taxpayers' dollars. The fact of the matter is, if you want an increase in service levels, you're facing an increase in property taxes as a result. But we can't be having large tax increases without the ability for our community to pay for them. And that's a primary concern, finding that delicate balance between giving the service level standards that our community deserves, but also attempting to keep the property taxes down. One thing I will not do is dip into reserves or tap into capital expenditures to keep our taxes low.
David?
Up to me, yeah. When it comes to taxes. Well, reality is, we can't lower taxes. Don't matter who gets in, they can't lower the taxes what they are because of the infrastructure the way we are. We can do a couple of things. We can bring in more houses, more people. So people come from Toronto and all over. We've been doing houses for the last 30 years. And people move from Toronto and Hamilton. They move to our area because it's a nice place to live. And the more people that move here, the more tax dollars coming in for revenue. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's because I do a lot of houses. And we welcome all these people. And it will help with the tax burden. Ding, we go for it. Who's next?
Krista?
You ready? The irony of those that blame me for their taxes rising is I'm by far the cheapest one on council you'll ever find. If my beat-up pickup truck I drive doesn't prove that, my voting record sure does. Fix my roads, pick up my garbage, and leave out the frills. Staff, when we were elected, would claim we have a revenue problem in Norfolk County. No, we had an expense problem. 2020, Burgess arrives to sort out the mess, 8.4%, but we had to correct the creative accounting practices covered over by raids on your reserves. Simultaneously, we cut $2 million long overdue, but added $1 million in our paramedic program because there were no investments in 10 years, despite an increase of calls of more than 1,000 per year. 2021, staff recommended using $5 million from the huge anticipated surplus due to COVID to reduce your tax burden, but it was defeated. Eventually, in a 6-to-1 vote, we used $2 million. If it had been up to Amy, your tax increase that year would have been 9%. Highest inflation in 40 years, a looming recession. I'm sorry, this isn't the time for green bins, EV chargers, and more staff. Keep chopping.
Bill?
Well, first off, 9%, it's a non-starter. And we all know what it's like out there. We see the rising cost of rates. We see the inflation things that are taking place. I don't think anybody's got that much left in their wallet anymore to give over. But in terms of trying to keep that under play, one of my colleagues alluded to that. You increase your assessment, you increase your industry, and you bring those new industries and you bring that new assessment to town and you be open for business. And I got to tell you, they are knocking at the door, but a lot of them are walking away. They don't get the response. They don't get that cooperation. They're not setting up shop here. And that's I'm not making this up, folks. Can't make this up. This is real. This is real. We have to welcome that new assessment, and along with that comes that new wealth, right? And, it's the water issue. We say, well, we can't build a house in Port Dover unless you put a cistern. You can't build a house in Simcoe now. It's a water issue. I know that costs money. Spend the money, fix it, and they will come. So,
Amy?
Well, I believe that a 9% property tax increase is just not acceptable, and I think this directly relates into communication and transparency on my pillars of my campaign. We need to articulate what dollar value is being spent where and what it's for. A new council deserves the opportunity that this council received to come in and scrub a budget line by line and get a fulsome understanding of what we're spending money on and if it needs to stay or go. But to say that property taxes aren't going to continue to increase is also not factual. We have old debt repayments coming due in the future. We're looking at taking on a substantial more amount of debt as we look to update infrastructure, specifically water and wastewater. We have brought in surpluses, but that too will come to an end, as a lot of it is attributed to a service reduction and pandemic funding. So I'd be lying if I said that it wasn't going to stop there, but I think we need a leader that will help facilitate a new council to scrub a budget and explain to you where your dollars are going.
Ian?
Oh, I already spoke once to this.
I was getting excited. Apologize. Just one moment.
So, your temperature's set to get up, you right there.
Okay, so we have had some feedback. Bill, if you could move your microphone maybe a little bit closer to you.
Yep.
And Dave, just as a reminder, when you're speaking, if you can kind of look directly at the audience, and people are having, when your head is looking at Emma and myself, people are having a hard time hearing what you've got to say. So just a little
Yes,
pro
dear.
tip. Unless you don't want them to hear what you've got to
Yes,
say.
dear.
Okay, so the next
people.
question is a debate question. So again, reminder that 2 minutes, and then at that point in time, you can have after we get through, everybody does their answers, then you can comment 2 times unless somebody directs a question directly at you. So here is the debate question. It's a long one, so hopefully I do not have to repeat it. Norfolk County Council acts as the Board of Health for both Norfolk and Haldimand counties. During the pandemic, the actions and comments of medical officers of health have drawn attention both inside and outside of the area. The former MOH was criticized by some for being too tough with COVID regulations on farm operations, and the current acting MOH has been criticized for social media posts about the ineffectiveness of lockdowns and masks. Do you feel that this has hurt Norfolk County's reputation and the public's opinion of the role of the Board of Health and the medical officer of health? If so, how would you work to rectify it? And we're going to start with Dave.
Jesus. I know he's not here. You want me to figure out the Board of Health?
Stop looking at them.
Okay, I look over here. I'm trying to pretend they're not there. Makes me nervous. The COVID situation, right from day one, all our service techs had to put on booties, masks, gloves to go in your homes to fix your furnaces or air conditioners. We have spent the last couple of years going to farms and making them COVID protected. So we go in the bunkhouse, we go in, we put in the heat, the air conditioning, whatever in the bunkhouse. Then people are quarantined for 2 weeks in that bunkhouse, right from the beginning. I do agree with it when it comes to offshore workers that come here, want to work. The farmer paid them their 2 weeks for being in the bunkhouses, and then we moved in another bunkhouse, and so on. So by the time it took a couple of months before they had all the help, but I believe that they should have, they should have done that, because without that, COVID would have spread a lot quicker. So this is about what I know about COVID. But I've lost a few friends to COVID. I know quite a few people that had it. Probably a few people in this room's had it. But the implement you have to have for wearing masks, and see how good I am? All right. Is that what I'm supposed to talk about? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, over to you, Crystal.
I didn't put my hand up yet. I thought it was debate. Go in order.
No, because of a debate, you go in order and then you challenge.
Everybody goes through an answer, and then they get 2 minutes to answer, and then after the debate part of it comes, we say, now we're starting to question ourselves here as the moderators. It's like, yikes.
Look, people aren't not coming to Norfolk because of a crazy mayor or because of our MOH. I couldn't tell you where half the MOHs in the province are, and I think I'm pretty knowledgeable about that because of my experience on the Board of Health. Shanker, the one that none of the farmers liked. I will say this about Shanker. Shanker took aggressive action early on that he should be commended for. He shut down facilities before the federal government did. He instituted quarantine in Haldimand, Norfolk before the federal government did. Those were all bold, strong moves. If the province had followed suit, it likely would have worked and we would have followed the path of New Zealand. I stood behind Shanker always. I took all the heat publicly, even for the decisions that I didn't agree with, because I felt that was my role and my duty as chair of the Board of Health. But by June, as an international airline pilot, I was flying around the world. While you were all here in lockdown, I was sitting at restaurants, at bars. I could have had my hair cut in Paris, Milan, London, wherever I went. Hairdressers were not closed anywhere else in the world because they had never been identified as a vector of transmission. Unfortunately for the farmers, there is nothing that could have been done. If anybody thinks, in order to fire Shanker, that the province was going to grant approval at the beginning of a pandemic to terminate an MOH, it was never going to happen. And he was within his legal right to do what he did. And he believed that that was the best course of action. And as the Board of Health, we had to support that. As time went on, and even with the haircut, I might add, Shanker was well aware that I was going to do it. He said to me, I asked him if he wanted me to step down as chair of the Board of Health, and he told me some of the world's greatest leaders once used civil disobedient techniques to highlight injustices in the world. He too had become frustrated at that point. As far as Strauss, I'll say that he's one of the most controversial decisions that I am most proud of. We are following provincial regulations. He is providing a different side to the story. I just told you the rest of the world was different.
Okay, Bill?
Thank you. Too tough, too soft. I got to tell you, the jury's out on this whole thing in the last 2 years, and if anybody can figure out what was right or wrong over the last 2 years, give me the book, right? Or show me the book. Nobody knew. Nobody knew what this was going to do to us, and things were changing on the fly. And I think tough decisions, and I'm not going to be critical of whether he's too soft or he's too tough, tough decisions were being made in every business, every part of the world, right? Every part of the world, folks. But we need to lead by example, and lead by example. And I'm not sure getting your hair cut was leading by example, but that's a different opinion, I guess, and you're entitled to that. Because the rest of us weren't. And we had to lead our staff by example, and our day-to-day lives by example, our school kids by example. This is something that none of us have experienced. None of us were around when the Spanish flu happened. And, we can read the books and stuff on it as what happened, but this was a whole new thing. And is it over with yet? Don't think so. We're still seeing the remnants of that, and we still need to live with that. We still need to be cautious. We still need to be careful, and we still need to be diligent. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor, and you listen to the professionals.
Amy?
Well, thank you, Bill. That's a perfect segue. Listen to the professionals. And I don't think someone with a background in a not-for-profit industry and sector should be a Board of Health member. I think that the Board of Health should not be made up of elected officials. You're supposed to behave in an apolitical role, and we are in the zone, in the same atmosphere, in the same environment day after day where we debate with one another about road replacements and legacy funds, and then we're expected to take that hat off and make decisions for the best interest of all of you and Haldimand County, and I quite frankly have no business doing that. But nonetheless, that is the legislation, and I am also a Board of Health member. The question was, do we think that it hurt Norfolk? Yes, I think that it's hurt Norfolk. I think that regardless of your position, whether you are on this end of the spectrum or that end of the spectrum with COVID, whether you relate to Dr. Nessathari or you believe in Dr. Strauss, we have continuously, again, made national news with very conflicting headlines and issues of concern, and there's no concise, belief system for one community at large, nor is there for the Board of Health. So, yes, I believe that it's hurt Norfolk County. I believe that it's bad publicity in general, but I believe that the Board of Health should change its structure. I don't think that politicians should make up the Board of Health. When we look at, the lack of support for our farmers in Ontario's garden, unacceptable. When we look at the outcry and the use of social media that is constantly tagging Norfolk County in other completely different end of the spectrum beliefs, also unacceptable. Let's meet in the middle and represent the broader community at large through appropriate leadership, appropriate communication, and follow suit with what's best for the majority of the constituents.
Okay, and Ian?
Thank you. I'd like to start with the Board of Health itself. It was created by the Transition Board and handed down to Norfolk County Council with its current governance structure. I think it's up for a review. It's needed. If we look at our Health and Social Services Advisory Board, it has equal representation of Norfolk County councillors and Haldimand councillors, and it's functioning quite well. It makes recommendations to not only Norfolk County Council, but the Board of Health at large. I am concerned that we don't have any private citizens sitting on the Board of Health. We don't have any doctors at the table, save for a medical officer of health. It's very important that we have a governance review take place so that we have equal representation not only from Haldeman, which we deliver health and social services to, we are their service manager. They deserve a seat at the table. It's created a lot of dysfunction intermunicipally between our two municipalities. The medical officer of health, we've had two at this juncture in time, Dr. Necessori and Dr. Strauss. I could spend all my 2 minutes here and 45 seconds in debate praising their performance, but that's not appropriate. There's been a concerted effort for both doctors to have them fired. We've been receiving harassing comments from the public to have them removed from their position, and it's simply inappropriate. Those are employee-related matters. Anyone that has run a business knows that you don't air your dirty laundry out in public. You have those conversations behind closed doors in a professional manner. I wouldn't want to see our community without a medical officer of health. Imagine if we had fired one of these without cause, costing the taxpayers money, only to be left without a medical officer of health during a global pandemic. That would be unacceptable. We've had comments about some of the free speech that our doctors have been engaging with. They're commenting on topics that are germane to their position, and it doesn't violate any of the social media policies that I'm aware of. Our social media policies are designed to protect an organization from defamation, ongoing derogatory remarks towards customers, peers, and suppliers, and that's not something our medical officer of health has engaged in.
Okay, so would anybody like to comment on that? Crystal?
Well, in terms of the composition of the Board of Health, I agree absolutely with both my colleagues. I think I was the one that brought forward the motion even to try to get Haldeman included on the board, because that should have been done many years ago. But the good news for them and the good news for all of you, it's quite public knowledge that the province is looking at abolishing our Board of Health, as we will eventually in the rather near future. I'm surprised it hasn't already been announced. They're likely to go down to 14 health units from the current 34. That was the plan before the pandemic. I've heard rumors that that's the plan coming up. And so while we haven't heard an announcement yet, that's likely to take place.
Okay, Ian?
I would like to present a proposition moving forward that we have an acting medical officer of health currently, and if elected mayor, I will be recruiting a permanent medical officer of health, and Dr. Strauss will be more than welcome to enter into this fair and open competition with others. I think that it's very important that we have a posting go up and we recruit a permanent medical officer of health, irrespective of what direction the province is going to be taking. And it needs to be a fair competition. We need to open it up to allow other doctors that may, as this pandemic has decided, become available to provide their service to us here in Norfolk County. We need a permanent medical officer of health.
Okay, and back to you, Crystal.
Dr. Strauss was offered a permanent contract. To be clear, the acting definition only applies because he doesn't have a master's in public health. The MOH that was sent to us to the province that they often parachute in, Dr. Huckowicz, he spent his entire career as an acting medical officer of health. To get a master's in public health, you need a bachelor's degree and a C average. I'd say Matt Strauss is more than qualified. There was something else, though, you said, and gosh darn it, I lost my train of thought. Oh, go.
Okay, anybody else?
Did the bell go yet?
You should have voted no.
There.
There it is.
There's not a long lineup of people, I can tell you, lining up to be a medical officer of health during a pandemic. There was one other candidate that was available.
Okay, nothing else from anybody else? Okey doke, great, thank you. Okay, so just a reminder, we're back to the 1-minute replies now.
I feel like a yo-yo. Okay.
Okay. Businesses have just come out of 2 years of numerous forced closures due to the pandemic, and now there are looming economic issues. A longtime business owner says that they are now required to pay for a business license for used goods with few details. Why are these licenses in place? What are they regulating? How are they regulating? Who is it helping? And is this just for bricks and mortar businesses, or does it extend to online vendors of used goods, flea markets, etc.? We'll start with Crystal.
Yeah, I don't think it's helping anybody, and if I had the support on council, I'd abolish it. Frankly, I think actually Councillor Martin and I might have tried to do that at one point in time. Staff's argument is that it helps them track which businesses are out there in the county. I'm not seeing it go on in other areas. I see it as an element of red tape. It has been very difficult for people to apply for their licenses online. I think they just offered an extension even this year. It's quite challenging. You know, one of the saddest things, it was for me in my term as mayor, maybe a couple months ago, the downtown farmers market, I heard from Leanne that organizes that, a steadfast, relentless community volunteer, and she told me how the county approached her because she didn't have a permit for her juggler for the kids. There were permits for food trucks, there were permits for the musicians, there was permits for everything, but she didn't have a juggling permit for the kids, and I gave my head a shake, and I thought, if after 4 years, you know, this is what we've come to. I talked to the clerk, and, you know, staff are want to make changes, but instilling common sense in government is challenging.
Bill?
Coming out of this last 2 years' struggle in owning a business, I understand that we don't need more legislation piled upon those businesses. We need to encourage business, whatever business that might be. It doesn't need any more legislation to impair its ability to try to function. Pretty simple.
I would have to agree. I'm going to echo some of the same comments. There was a public meeting on open house in Norfolk County with the clerk's office on licenses and permits, and I recall one business owner in particular was a food truck owner, and he said, well, why are we doing this? And the clerk's office said, well, we're doing it so that the health unit knows that you're verified. And then the health unit said, well, we don't actually have those files. And it was a case of the left hand not knowing what the right hand was doing. So, you know, it's unnecessary. I believe the business owner actually made an excellent point and said, why am I being penalized because I sell used goods? Aren't all goods used? When so-and-so down the road is buying from a supplier, I'm buying from a supplier, what's the difference? So I think that we're starting to, you know, get a little bit overkill here with some of these permits and whatnot. This particular situation, I believe by law made a trip there, but I'm having deja vu because 4 years ago I sat on the Port Dover stage and there was a question about Norfolk County competing in small business with yoga specifically. So it's very similar. We're dipping our hand into something that we don't need to be in, and we're making it harder for our small businesses.
Ian.
Thank you. I share your concern with increasing regulations for small and large businesses with regards to licensing. I think that we need to work with staff to find some creative solutions where they can find the administrative requirements without adding on an extra fee. I've heard countless businesses complain about struggling to obtain their business license and also their approvals through our health department. And while this is taking place, many illegal businesses have set up shop in our community, and it seems like we're punishing those that are honest, and we're not appropriately responding to those that are fly-by-night operations and aren't going through the proper protocols. It's very frustrating for someone that's done all the right things to approach their counselor, to approach their staff, only to be told that they need to wait, schedule another meeting, have another pre-consultation, and ultimately not be able to open up their business on schedule.
David?
Yeah, I know a few people that's trying to set up businesses in Simcoe, and it's very difficult for them, and the wait list is, some of them waited 8 months, and they still don't have a business license, right? My business is all through the government. I register with the government. I don't have to register with any town. All my businesses are registered through the government and not through Simcoe. But food trailers, the Lions food trailer, I look after it very well. And when the health department comes out, they go right through us. I mean, she goes in there with a white glove, but yet another guy with no permits, no anything, can set up a skid and put up a chip wagon right across from us on a skid. And he's allowed, but yet we gotta jump through all these hoops just to keep our trailer. Thank you. I'm gonna go dinghy.
Okay, so the next question is, we hear a lot about transparency, yet the most recent financial statements aren't released yet, or were just released. How will you ensure that they are ready in a timely manner? And we'll start with Bill.
Well, I guess that's just simply not acceptable. You know, our financial statements have to be prepared. Revenue Canada says, your time's up, folks, and you got to have them there. And, you know, there's qualified staff there, there's county staff there that have those financial statements. All got the computers and stuff. I can't understand why that run can't take place and hit those deadlines, so that if somebody does come on, and that might be the province or the federal government that says, hey, we want to see the statement on this, or we want to see the trust fund on the legacy account. Any taxpayer should be able to walk in when they're supposed to be ready, have them ready. You know, and I'm not sure that it was this council or the previous council. I think some of those books were running 2 years in abeyance. Just simply not acceptable. So.
Okay, Amy?
We did actually at our last council meeting on Tuesday, sorry Bill and Dave, I guess a bit of privileged information unless you watched, it was live streamed, had our audit come in. So those finances, they are public, they are published, they are available for you to see. We have a third party that does that. We are regulated by the province to produce those financials and get them up online. So that has been done. That is currently completed. We use a third-party accountant to do all of that and come and give us a presentation. They obviously work with our staff hand in hand, but there is a fresh set of eyes, if not multiple fresh set of eyes on those numbers. I believe it was Councillor Huffman at our last council meeting, who inquired about the timeline and the deadline, that it was later than normal, and the response was that the job went out for an RFP to tender, and the awarded contract could not fulfill the job, so it had to go to another business. That is why it is late.
Okay, and Ian?
Thank you, and to carry on that conversation, we did go to tender for our audited financial statements this year. The first or the winning bid was unfortunately not able to meet their obligations and therefore backed away. We went to the second bid and they did start late. This was all explained at Norfolk County Council, and there was also some issues with that. They didn't think they got the tender, they didn't think they got the job, so they started later in the season. I'm all for transparency. The issue with transparency is the more transparent you are, the more open to criticism that you are, and this council has had their fair share of criticism for being transparent. Nonetheless, it's our duty to be transparent to the taxpayer and to encourage debate and discussion when members of the public feel that we aren't being transparent with them. I'm very much for starting budgeting processes early. I think the earlier on you start a budgeting process, the earlier you can start your tenders, the earlier you can get these financial returns and explanations to the public.
Thank you, and Dave?
Okay. Gentlemen and ladies, I think the taxpayers should be involved with and know exactly what the council and the mayor is doing at all times. I believe that if I become mayor and the council, when we are gonna buy something in this or do a road or whatever, we should put it out to the public and have them vote on it, because it's their money we're gonna spend. It's also my money that you're gonna spend. So I believe that taxpayers should see and know what we're doing at all times, if they want to. I know a lot of taxpayers can stay home and, you know, watch TV and thank you again.
Okay, and Crystal?
Transparency. I don't think that we have done anything that has not been unbelievably transparent during this term of council. We have exposed so many skeletons. We have written off millions in drainage accounts. We brought them forward publicly. Drainage accounts that were 15 years old that had never been collected. Yesterday at this same council meeting, we assumed a couple dozen subdivisions from the last 15 years where staff hadn't actually done the job. The problem with that is the fact that all those assets that we now have to take care of, the roads, the sidewalks, that's supposed to be in our 10-year capital plan. but it's missing. So the 800 million that we're forecasting is actually more. Our staff are constantly cleaning up and bringing skeletons forward. I'm sorry the audited statements weren't released in July, but staff did provide a draft copy in July because we were delayed a month by RFPing the job for the first time in history.
Okay. Do you see the parking pilot project in Lakeside communities as being a success or a failure? We'll start with Amy.
Pressure's on, heat's on. It's too early to say, if I'm being completely honest with you, because we don't have a staff report back with the metrics of that study. I can say that we recently were given an email from our bylaw staff who is overseeing that project, and I know that 10,000 transactions were done through these paid parking pilot projects, and there's about $60,000 in revenue at this point in time. The parking pilot is done. I will say also immediately on the record that I do not support this going forward unless there's a paid parking pass or some type of parking pass for our locals. They don't need to pay through their taxes and then pay at the machine. But a lot of other communities do this initiative where we can bring in close to $60,000 to buy more parking infrastructure in the future, and I support it as long as there's a paid parking pass.
Ian.
Thank you. I think unequivocally it's been a failure. I've been discussing door to door with individuals that have had trouble negotiating the new system, whether it be the app. They've received tickets even though they've registered their license plate. It's been a difficult start. It is a pilot project, and I think we're going to get an earful when we finally get that final staff report back. In Simcoe, we decided not to pursue the paid parking solution in consultation with business owners and residents. We understood very early on, myself and my counterpart Ryan Taylor, this was a non-starter in our community. To think that it would be successful in a lakefront community was perhaps short-sighted, considering the amount of tourists and the unique nature of our beachfront properties. I think we went too far with the street side parking. It makes a lot of sense to monetize a parking lot and get some return on investment from those sources to pay for bylaw services. But I think the street side parking has gone just a bit too far, and I think we'll get a future report that will demonstrate that.
David.
Yeah, I'm on. Jesus. Hey, okay, you guys. I haven't been part of this parking problem. I know in Long Point, when we're doing houses down there, there is quite the parking problem in Long Point. And residents are there, they get up in arms, they want to have cars towed. We've had people block us in driveways, and we had to go find them on the beach so we could get out. So in Long Point, there's a definite parking problem, okay? But, so that's about as much as I know, because I'm not involved in all this. I love to be, and yeah, parking is a big problem. Anybody for going back to parking meters? Nobody? Okay. I had to put that in there.
Okay. So I know the topic of parking is very exciting to everyone, but just reminding that we do have Facebook Live going, so we do have to simmer down a little bit, okay? Crystal.
Well, it's no secret that I was the lone vote against paid parking on council. I don't just hate it, I loathe it. I'm the mayor and I refuse to pay to park. I do still support our businesses, and while I can walk, and it's probably good for me, not everyone has that luxury. The argument was always, well, we have all these tourists that come down and they leave their garbage, don't shop, and cost the taxpayers money. So the answer was to charge the taxpayers more money? Or hey, because our bylaw officers are unionized under world's worst negotiated agreement, which this council had no part of, let's pay some overtime for weekends worked, or else we need to have this parking pilot to pay for more summer bylaw officers. I'm going to leave you with a stat all of council received just the other day. 102 additional parking tickets were issued by our regular officers working overtime over the last 8 Saturdays. Quick math, everyone. 102 divided by 8, about 12 parking tickets per Saturday on overtime. Did we make money off those tickets, or did we pay out overtime to frustrate our residents?
Bill?
Parking, parking, parking. It's always a problem in the summer of those resort areas, Turkey Point, Long Point, Port Dover. I think there was an initiative perhaps put forward to try to move those cars along and have the terminals were a problem. People didn't understand them. I almost got a ticket myself because I didn't even realize it was in the paid parking, or to pay for parking. But I don't believe that that's going to solve it. And I got to tell you, is it a success with the people that got a ticket and came here to spend a few bucks and spend some time here? Probably not. Probably not. It's an age-old problem. My colleague down the way here alluded to the parking meters. And I was on council at the time that out they came and we sold them all off, and then everybody said, let's put them back in because it helped move those cars. It's a continual problem. And even back in those days, it was some of the business owners that were parking right in those spots where their consumers should be parking. So, you know, but I'm not sure it was a success though.
Okay, so with fall and winter approaching, are you committed to providing financial resources to create suitable emergency housing for the homeless so they are not forced to find shelter on our downtown streets, parks, and trails? And we'll start with Ian.
Thank you. This is of crucial importance for the next term of council to address. This term of council had made the effort to provide some funding to Church Out Serving in Riverside 83 in partnership with the BIA to provide some emergency housing over the winter. I did grow up in this community and I'm very familiar with the homeless population. Even at a young age, they're sleeping in our mausoleums, in our graveyards, and in our parks. The condition has only worsened with the mental health and opioid addiction crisis that has overtaken our community amongst other communities throughout our great country. Sleeping under overpasses and in public parks, gazebos, it's simply unacceptable. No one chooses to be homeless, and we need to reach out to these individuals, have an intervention, and stabilize them. Everyone deserves dignity, and everyone deserves a roof over their head, especially when it's getting cold in the winter.
Thank you. Dave.
Okay, I have talked to some of the homeless downtown Simcoe. There's about 27 of them. I've met some that lived in alleys where we'd be working on apartments, and it's very sad, and a lot of them have a mental problem, and they need a place for winter. I know the Knights Columbus, they open up for some of the homeless. There's a chap on Norfolk Street by the Rack and Queue that his door is open all the time, and there's a back room that they can go in and pray and sleep the nights, all right? I know one lady, she got evicted from her house because the rent doubled, and she has some of her goods in one alley and some of her goods in another alley. And when see how good I am? Go ahead.
Okay. All right, just a reminder, when the bell rings, you still have 10 seconds to talk, but
I got 10
now your 10
seconds.
seconds is up.
Well,
So
there's a
next,
big need to help the homeless, I tell you. Big
Okay.
need.
all right, good, thank you.
I know.
Okay, Crystal.
We spend millions a year on social services. It would be great to provide everything to everyone. Unfortunately, every time we take on new initiatives, we have to raise taxes to pay for those new initiatives. And the dichotomy of that is, who are the people that we're actually ultimately hurting the most? It's the vulnerable people in that lower income bracket, or I suppose the homeless aren't paying taxes, but you're probably driving some others into homeless territory. One of the initiatives that came forward with the BIA, I was really impressed by. I'm still not sure that the numbers work out, but you know, I think that there's an opportunity for community groups and to get some funding from council that perhaps isn't unionized staff and so on and so forth to provide some more creative solutions. What?
Ding, you got 10 seconds. Just being fair.
Okay, I guess we're over to Bill now.
I guess the short answer is yes. I know there was a project that was initiated by council last year at kind of on an emergency basis, and anybody would be amiss to say that they wouldn't to consider that again. But It's a huge, huge problem. It's not just here. It's not just in our Simcoe core. It's not in our Dover core. It's a huge problem across this province. And I guess that's one of the things I say. It's one of our provincial colleagues and also our federal colleagues. Don't just say the talk, walk the talk. And, you know, we have to reach out to them for that funding, and you're quite right. You know, we take the money from there, and where's the money come from? It comes from another project. But simply to leave them in the street, that's not the solution. That's not an answer. And we have to reach out to community groups and for that additional outreach to those groups. And, you know, they're all tapped to their limits also, but collectively, we do have to address it.
Thank you. And Amy.
Yeah, absolutely. Affordable housing is the bigger picture issue, and homelessness is the immediate issue that we need to have a broader conversation about. Council did give $10,000 to a local group partnership for warming stations this past winter. We have yet to see the financial breakdown of how that worked out, if it was a successful endeavor for us, but we do and will continue to look for partnerships to address homelessness in the community and not have it be a Norfolk County initiative. But that being said, we do get close to $1 million and work with 11 not-for-profit providers. We do rent subsidy programs, emergency housing programs. We work with Haldeman Norfolk Housing Corporation on a regeneration strategy to bring new homes. This is obviously hampered by water, specifically in the community. But and one of my passions was early on, I led the charge with a council discussion and staff discussion on secondary dwellings and tiny homes in the community to increase housing stock.
Norfolk County and police have made some advances in dealing with cannabis operations, but more needs to be done. A question submitted by a resident says, Section 128 of the Municipal Act gives Norfolk County authority to deal with obnoxious cannabis odors from grow operations. Thousands of residents of Norfolk, and specifically the north end of Simcoe, have lost the ability to open their windows or sit in their backyards because of such odors. The resident asks, what are you, each candidate, going to do to stop this insidious and vile stench and give these residents their lives back? David.
I thought something was in place with Norfolk County where they could not grow close to residents. They were supposed to be way out past the residents, all right? But I see a lot of problems. We're talking about marijuana. I would go to people's houses to fix the air conditioners. And the air conditioner's having a problem because the marijuana plants that's growing around it is suffocating it. So we have odors in our neighborhood from neighbors growing this substance. And the government says, hey, everybody can grow 4 plants. All right, so you can't stand the smell, grow 4 plants, right? Then you won't notice it. I don't know. Then everybody could be happy. No, I don't know. Yes, dear.
That bow is for the laughter. Turn it down.
My fault.
Crystal.
I'm going to read you actually to some of the stats from our bylaw officer that is dedicated to cannabis operations. 122 suspected cannabis production sites, 67 of those files have been closed, 47 were closed as unfounded, 16 in court, 41 locations charged to date, 79 individuals, companies charged. 25 locations are currently before the court. 16 investigations have now concluded with 131,500 in court fines levied and 14 court orders issued not to produce cannabis. We have an entirely dedicated bylaw officer. You know, I have to say this issue, I think we have made massive progress in the county. To say that we're going to commit even more resources to this, I can't sit here and say that, not with a 9% tax increase that's looming before us. As far as advocating with the provincial and federal government, I keep hearing this, I'm going to advocate with the province. I have met with them on this file, even spoken with the Attorney General and provided suggestions on how at a provincial level they might assist municipalities locally.
Bill.
Well, thank you. What is a wonderful thing that the federal government did when they said it's okay to grow it, and didn't put any legislative framework out there, but they put it on down to the municipalities. But that's where it ends up, and I got to tell you, yeah, maybe there's been some bylaw enforcement, but not enough. And there's other municipalities that are having good success with this. I think it's East Wimbleberry, and there's some reports that are available on that, and they are doing those investigations. They are getting the police involved. Look, we give almost, what is it, $11 million to the police, policing here for this municipality every year. And if the police are given those directions, and maybe not to do the shutdown, but go with the bylaw officer to investigate those complaints, and we have been in those neighbors' houses where you can't sit on their back porch or they can't open those back windows, and that's just simply not fair. It needs to be legislatively controlled, grow it in the industrial zones, and not in somebody's backyard, and it can't be ignored.
Amy.
It's a big problem here in Norfolk, that's for certain. We see cannabis growers operating and occupying old pepper and and tomato greenhouses. I'm aware of a family that came and petitioned council quite aggressively as they moved out of their forever dream home with their kids due to the smell. So it is an issue. I won't reiterate the stats, though, that were already shared with you, but I will reiterate that Norfolk County only has a handful of bylaw officers, and we almost cut one at budget in 2021, but we retained the position. Of those handful, there is one bylaw officer for this problem across Norfolk. There are other successful municipalities that deal with cannabis. The way that we regulate it is through our zoning bylaws. So we regulate odor, we regulate light, and we regulate setback regulations from other properties. But that means that these facilities need to come into our planning department and have a discussion so we can tell them they're too close or too bright. I will commit to sitting down with the new council, reviewing everything and looking at new bylaws if it doesn't hamper agriculture.
Ian.
Thank you. I want to start my remarks by saying that I'm by no means anti-cannabis. I do want to promote licensed producers. It was me that put forward a motion to have it only grown in industrial zones. I believe that was more appropriate place so that we could have a greater level of setbacks and odor control mitigation efforts to have this product grown in an area that's more appropriate for its use, considering the nuisances that's caused by it. I'm a law and order, public safety type of guy. At the end of the day, I've been invited out to some of these illegal grow operations and some of these licensed producers that aren't playing by our rules and conforming to our bylaw. I was shocked to go inside and find that the baby's bassinet smelled like skunk. I really empathize with these residents that are having to put up with this ongoing nuisance and not being able to fully enjoy their property. I'm more than willing to work with council and lobby the government to have increased enforcement in this issue. I've been the one to vote also against having dispensaries in mixed-use residential zones.
Throw the bell at them.
Okay, so the next question is, the Ford government has started to increase mayoral powers in some large urban municipalities. What is your position on that? And we'll start with Crystal.
Well, in some ways, I think it would reflect what people actually think that I can do here, because all of the changes and all of the votes and all of the things that are frustrated and all of the cutbacks that we made, they were all decisions made by council. The mayor actually has no power under our mayoral system. So yes, and I heard a chuckle there, no power, I have one vote, that's the same as anybody else on council. Yes, they are looking at it for some of the larger cities. I'm not sure if the reasons why they are proposing those changes are going to help. The argument is to move some of these planning applications and increase housing stock and so on. I think there's quite a loud opposition that's out there that's coming through some of the other associations. And obviously it's being done to more reflect what's going on in the U.S. So I really don't think it's a threat of coming to Norfolk County, whether you support it or you don't support it.
Great. Okay, Bill.
Yeah, I don't see it as a threat as immediately coming here, but it is a little scary that they would give those powers over to a mayor, and the current mayor is quite correct that the mayor doesn't have that power. It's collectively those decisions are made, and that's why there's an elected council, so that there's a thermometer there, I guess. And to have a mayor that would have that power You call the mayor and says, oh, just put magic wand out here. And it's a little scary when, we talk about the large urban areas, Toronto, and they're going to give them that power. No, I don't think so. But let's all remember this. The province, we are but a creature, as a municipality, a creature of the province. And they can come in with that big stick whenever they like and say, settle your act down. So never forget that. Big brother's there, so.
Okay, and Amy.
Strong mayor powers are extremely, extremely concerning to me. While they haven't been announced to come to our municipality or other small municipalities, it's been discussed in Toronto and Ottawa. The actual powers that are enveloped inside strong mayor powers would be to veto decisions of council, to hire and fire and terminate staff positions, and this is all done under the guise to expedite housing as per the Ford government. I'm not sure how I see that correlation, but that's the messaging. At large, I think it's extremely undemocratic. I think all of you go and you cast your votes for representation, for a voice at the table. Whether that voice gets used once they're there, that's another issue, but you elect people to be there to use their voice, and now we could see potentially mayors having the opportunity to veto those decisions. It's undemocratic, it's wrong, I don't support it, and I think we need to ask ourselves, who would we like to see in Norfolk County office should those powers come here?
Okay, and Ian.
Thank you. I'm also against the strong mayor system. I'm more in favor of sharing power. I believe that you're first among equals as the mayor and council, and you should be empowering your council to be making the decisions and delegating power and sharing power. Even our former integrity commissioner, John Mascarin, has spoken out against the strong mayor system, and he's quite articulate. You just have to Google to hear his response on mainstream media. It's very concerning that a strong mayor could veto budgets, make planning decisions and staffing decisions without consulting their council. It really removes the ability for the public to appeal a planning decision and have their voices heard if these planning applications are being rubber stamped by a mayor. So if these powers were to be brought to Norfolk County Council, I would not be using them. I would refuse them. I'd be willing to even put a bylaw in place preventing me from doing so.
Okay, and Dave.
Oh, everybody's looking at me again. Okay. I think that what they're talking about is how much power a mayor should have. Well, the mayor should work with all the wards and help decide on things, but not rule like a king or a queen. That's say both, all right? They all got to work together. All the council members and the mayor has to work together with the taxpayers. I keep saying this. Everybody's got to work together to get things done and understand more where your money is going. I mean, it's like I go to that guy and get $10, and I get $10 off you, and I get 20 off you, and I go down to the casino and throw it all away. I still got 10 seconds, right? So we all got to work together to solve solutions, right? Not one person can have all the power. Holy, that bell. I'm taking that bell home. I'm going to take it apart. Well, that was fun.
Okay. So regarding water rates, a low-income senior living alone in their own home using minimal water has seen their water bill increase 40% since July 2018, $57 a month. Will you acknowledge that this increase is unacceptable, especially when further increases are planned? Would you be willing to look at a rebate program for low-income seniors, as some other municipalities have done in the past? We'll start with Bill.
Well, water rates, not all of us are subject to those water rates, but I guess some of us are all subject to them if we happen to be a landlord, because we end up with a bill if we can't pay the bill. But the water rates, and we understand where those water rates go to, is for that infrastructure and those, like those $5 million and those $10 million rebuilds. So somebody has to pay for that. This county, whether it's, you say we're blessed with a good aquifer underground, but we are also blessed with a lot of different water systems. There's not one central system. There's Port Dover, there's Simcoe, there's Port Rowan, there's one in Cortland, there's one in Waterford. So it's costly. It's costly, and somebody has to pay for that. But certainly, it's no reason to shut somebody's water off, and I think you have to look at those things. And one of the other considerations, and I know this is a real bugaboo for a lot of people, when you're irrigating your lawn, you're still paying for the sewer cost. So, yep.
Amy.
To address the question specifically about a rebate program for seniors, it's something that I'm not opposed to looking into. I personally don't have any experience with that, so I could commit to that, doing some research on that with the rest of council. But will I say that those rates are unacceptable? Yes, they're unacceptable. Will I promise you that we can reverse them or reduce them? We cannot at this point in time. The facts are there aren't enough users on the system right now. As we look to build out the interurban water system, we will add more users onto the water system, which will reduce the bills overall. It's a cost-effective, timely solution, but yeah, it's unfortunate. We've also looked at water tenant arrears with landlords, and we have now began to bill those to the landlords, which I know is a contentious issue if you're a landlord, but somebody has to pay for that water somewhere along the line.
Ian.
Thank you. Simply put, we've underfunded our water supply here in Norfolk County. We've run out of capacity, and this impacts all water users. Whether you're a large developer and you're having your development put on hold, or you're someone who's looking to renovate their home and add a kitchen sink or a restroom. Maybe you're looking to build some affordable housing and create a duplex or a triplex. You're also being put on hold with our water restrictions. Perhaps you're off services and you're hauling in bulk water. Well, you can't go to the station in Port Dover right now because of the water moratorium. Everyone's being impacted by the fact that we've run out of water capacity and we've underfunded our water system historically for so long. It's impacting us all, and that is the short answer why the rates have increased so much. We did have a watershed budget in 2021, which I had the privilege of chairing, getting off what I call the rate roller coaster. You're not going to be seeing large fluctuations in your water rates moving forward. It should be stabilized for the next 10 years.
David.
I see a rebate for certain seniors that are on fixed incomes. I know a lot of seniors that they only get $1,400 to $1,600 a month. And by the time they stretch that out for rent and their hydro and all that in the water, I think they should get a rebate, some of these people. Myself, I'm a senior, but I have a very good income. And if you put my rate up a bit, you know, I wouldn't mind to put towards this. I don't know about Bill over here. There's probably quite a few millionaires in this town that you could up their water rate, and it shouldn't hurt their bottom line. But I think we should help certain seniors that are on fixed incomes all the time, because we're going to be there someday. Yes, dear.
Crystal.
So I just want to be clear, the 16.8% increase that everybody saw in 2020 wasn't actually related to water. It was related to a $34 million plant upgrade that was never forecasted in Simcoe for wastewater. So if you think the water challenges are bad, get ready for the next couple years. Bill, I got to pick on you. You said earlier it costs money, fix it and they will come. This is not a sure thing. There is no possible way to fix a $250 million problem on our own. This was a solution that was talked about back in 2008 to connect Haldimand, Norfolk, Guelph, Waterloo, and beyond. It was $1 billion back then. The year we were going to have water was 2021. I'm not opposed to some type of subsidy. However, again, it's the same challenge that you face. Whenever you do these things, you are hurting somebody else and it's the lowest income and the most vulnerable portion of our population that is going to be affected by the subsidies that you are issuing.
Okay, so the next question is, what is your vision for Norfolk County being recognized as a tourist destination and drawing more people to Norfolk County? And we'll start with Amy.
My vision for Norfolk County is much of the same, but emphasized and improved. We have a wonderful tourism industry built up here already, but it lives in a very short window. So if we can work with our partners in the tourism industry, whether it's our wineries and our breweries, whether it's agriculture and various on-farm diversified uses, or the cottage sector and our beaches and our trail uses, whatever it is, if we can work with them to expand and build out into the shoulder seasons, from a tourism perspective, I think all of our businesses will benefit. There'll be more people in town to spend money on various mom and pop shops that aren't so tourism driven. But I think we need a little bit of help to get there, because a lot of businesses for a lot of years have tried this endeavor, but it doesn't necessarily work when it's one business or one sector trying to build out the season. So if Norfolk County could help emphasize the shoulder seasons for tourism, I think we'd be in a beautiful spot.
Okay, Ian?
Can I ask can you repeat the question just one more time?
Oh, okay. What is your vision for Norfolk County being recognized as a tourist destination and drawing more people to Norfolk County? Okay, so to you, Ian.
Thank you. I think we really need to look at tourism versus economic development. We do have a very short staff due to a restructuring in our economic development team. Councillor Amy and myself have both served on the Tourism and Economic Development Advisory Board, and this is a good group. It's a good starting place and a launching pad for future efforts to get our tourism sector collected together on the same page and trying to create an industry that can stand on its own. And we really need to look at attracting businesses to our community, whether that be engaging in Project Microphone, bringing in, I'm searching for the word, people that do photos or looking to do film, looking to do live performances. We need to showcase our talent here, put them on a bus, and take them around, see what happens.
Okay, Dave.
Increase tourism, are we? All right. To get more people here as tourism, we have to clean up the downtown core. Definitely. Some of the stores are repainting their faces. There's a lot of deadbeat landlords that won't fix their buildings, and they should be questioned. We have to redo our park, make our park more beautiful. I've been around Norwich, I've been up different areas, and the parks are just beautiful. And we got to bring our parks back for people to come and visit them. We got to clean up downtown Simcoe for people to come and visit it. Dover is a perfect town for people to visit, but Simcoe is, I hear a lot of people, they don't want to come here because of the downtown core. So, am I done? So, thank you.
Okay, Crystal.
Well, I'm hearing about the short staff in the Tourism and Ec Dev Department. Again, those were decisions that were unanimous by council. Economic development, generally a big part of that focus is industrial development. Just to point out, we actually have no industrial land left, and we have no water except in Delhi and Waterford. I think a big thing to encourage entrepreneurs and see that spread carry on, it's still the planning and red tape, which is what inspired me to run in the first place, and which is what I want to get back to. Creating an environment where people want to come, young entrepreneurs, and set up shop in Norfolk County. We spent all these money on these gateway signs. I think that money could have been far better used in the past. We were providing magazines to the residents of Norfolk County to market Norfolk County to Norfolk County. I commend our staff for taking new initiatives, but we have to look beyond wineries and breweries too. Think of the fishing and all of the other attractions that Norfolk County offers and is still really not known by the rest of the country.
Great. Okay, Bill.
Vision for tourism. The tourists are already here, and we see it in our tourist towns, and that's why the parking, and down in Port Dover, that's why the parking at Long Point. I think if you want that tourism and you want those tourists they know where Norfolk County is, and they know this is a breath of fresh air out here for them to come here. They need a place to stay when they get here. You want them for more than a day. They need a motel. They need a campground. The campgrounds are all full. Call the campgrounds. Try to get one on a weekend. So we need places. You want to increase the tourism, you want them for more than a day. When they come here, they got money in their pocket to spend, and you want to shake some of that money out of their pocket and you're not going to get them for a day if they're gone home in 24 hours. So some of the overnight accommodations, more short-term accommodations, and encourage that. We've got a beautiful county here, and they know and they're aware of it. The bicycling that takes place here, they're well aware of it, but you need to keep them for more than 24 hours.
Okay. And the next question is, Norfolk County has become known as a great place to retire. There is very little here for older children and youth. How can we make sure it's still also a great place to grow up? And we're going to start with Ian.
Thank you. We have demographic challenges, not only in Norfolk County, but across our country. We are aging, and we're aging rapidly in Norfolk County. We're actually aging much quicker than our neighboring municipalities. So we do have a demographic challenge. We need to work with our professional staff to try to bring in more working families. It is a real concern that we don't have the amount of population required to own and operate our businesses. And while I appreciate the retirement community are good patrons, we need working class people to provide working class jobs, to have a working class economy. And I am very concerned with the aging demographic. We don't have the amount of long-term care homes to provide for an aging community. We don't have hospice care. We don't have the types of services for an aging community currently in place. It's going to be a crisis.
Okay, thank you. Dave. Oh, sorry.
Can you repeat that question again one more time? Now I'm confused.
Sure. Okay, so Norfolk County has become known as a great place to retire. There's very little here for older children and youth. How can we make sure it's also still a great place to grow up? Okay, so Dave.
Can I pass for a minute and hear somebody else?
No.
What do you mean, no? All right.
If you pass, you pass, sorry.
We've been a retirement committee for how long? All right? You can look at the crowd. Most of us are retired, except for people like me, and we don't know how to retire. And I don't know, we got the senior center for the seniors. Anybody go there? Well, I'm not supposed to ask that. Okay. Children. What are the children going to do? Well, we need a skate park, right? We need, like Riverside is going to bring back Christianity into children and teach them how to cook. Boy, oh boy.
Okay, Crystal.
Go ahead, Chris.
In terms of no activities, well, I guess I would firstly say I'm not sure what they're doing, because I think Norfolk County is a playground for any kid, summer and winter. There is so much out there to go and do, from biking to fishing to you name it. Wintertime, as far as the county's perspective, we currently subsidize hockey to the tune of $1.7 million a year. And I say we, I mean you, the taxpayers. We had talked in terms of a subsidy program of shifting some of that money and actually reducing that burden and having those subsidies be more directly allocated to the families that needed them, as opposed to, again, people that might not be able to afford to have their kids play hockey, having to subsidize somebody that is much more well off. If there was an element to achieve some of those savings, perhaps it's an opportunity for Norfolk to direct funds into some other sports. And one thing I would encourage you all to do is check out what's going on at the rec center in the evenings when the Simcoe seniors aren't using it. There are tons of activities for youth that are taking place.
Thank you. And Bill.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that Norfolk County is known as a retirement, or a nice place to retire. And I love when somebody new comes from afar here to retire, because not only they spend that existing portfolio, but they bring their existing wealth. But talking about the youth and how do you retain them and the young families, and that's by having good security systems in place, fair policing, all those things that make a good community, and a good council, and encourage that, to retain that youth and those young families. And you're quite correct. This is a virtual playground. Pick your passion. There's lots of things for them to do. Put away the phone that they're all playing on, and get out and enjoy the world. So, thanks.
Okay, and Amy.
Well, I can attest that it is a great place to grow up in. I mean, Ian and I didn't end up so bad, did we? The answer is amenities, but amenities cost money. So our activities and locations that are safe for kids to go. Our skate park, we've looked to, in Simcoe, move that to save us about $13,000 in a lease fee or rent fee, and we haven't replaced it yet. We've been busy, but these things need to take priorities. Green spaces, lighting to create safe environments for kids in the downtown centers and parks. Partnerships with our post-secondary education. We are so lucky to have Fanshawe College here in our community. How do we work with them a little bit better? It is a rite of passage, though, to grow up here and want to get out. I certainly did. I went to school, and then I came home every weekend thereafter. So I think that learning curve where we provide opportunities and amenities and activities for kids to return home to, and we'll be okay.
Okay, so we have one more question before we get to the closing statements. And just a reminder, the closing statements, they have 2 minutes for that. So here's the last question is, what do you feel are the top 3 skills a mayor needs to possess, and what is your biggest strength? And we're going to start with you, Dave.
You don't like me, do you? Anyway,
Of course I do.
Mayor, when I look out, you got to listen to the taxpayers. You got to get out there and talk to them and see what you guys got going. Like, I don't know how else to say it. The mayor's got to be strong and sympathetic, but like I said, a good listener, and get things done. The mayor's got to get things done with the council, and we don't know what all the agreements are unless we get out, knock on your door and say, what's up? You know, I've been doing that quite often now. And I think that's the mayor, the strength of the mayor. What about you? Crystal's next.
Yeah, Crystal is next, so go ahead, Crystal.
Well, first of all, Norfolk County is a $500 million corporation, so a mayor needs to have a strong financial background, which is why I believe my MBA from one of the top business schools in this country has come in handy to unearth many of these financial irregularities and creative accounting practices that went on. I think a mayor also needs to be a strong advocate, as has been discussed. I'm not sure if that implies that I haven't been, but I am also proud to say of my many meetings with ministers of infrastructure, ag, energy, municipal affairs yielded more for Norfolk in discretionary provincial funding than ever before. The Causeway, Inwell, Forestry Farm Road, Gaswell. And did I mention the Rogers, the 9,100 homes against the vote of at least one councillor at this table that was opposed to it is coming to all of Norfolk. And I also think that a mayor needs to make decisions based on facts and not on the political popularity of a decision.
Okay, and Bill.
Thank you. You need to listen. I'm going to say you need to listen to the taxpayers. You need to respond to the taxpayers. And you need to negotiate with your councillor colleagues and your staff and negotiate or get along and try to understand where they're coming from and be fair in that process and non-confrontational, and you bring that to a conclusion. And not everybody's happy with it, but you need to convey that message back out to those constituents. They need to understand that, and they need to be communicated to.
Okay, and Amy.
3 qualities: leadership, which encompasses communication, listening skills, and the ability to compromise. Empathy, you have to understand and be able to relate to a variety of community members who have walked an entirely different path in life than you have. And I think the keen desire to continue to learn, because you are not a subject matter in everything under the sun, and you rely on your staff and your community members to fill those gaps for you. I believe the question also said, why do you think you're suited? And I would say it's my passion for home. I'm not the best person for every subject to be mayor at this table, but I have a strong passion and I would rival anyone. I want the very best for Norfolk. Let's start to put that best foot forward, share positive news, continue on a positive, healthy trajectory with our budget, retain staff, bring them back to the corporation, and communicate better with the taxpayers. We won't always be aligned, but I'll share the news with you, good, bad, or indifferent.
Okay, and Ian.
Thank you. First and foremost, I think leadership skills. You do need someone that's had a variety of lived experiences, working with different types of people, someone that's open and approachable. You need someone that's able to motivate staff and also hold them to account, because ultimately they're the ones that are delivering the services, and we're responsible for having that sober second thought and that oversight for their responsibilities. You need someone that's business-minded, someone that believes in best practices, continuous improvement, and challenging the status quo. We need to run government more like a business and be accountable to our customers, which are the public. And we also need someone that has integrity, someone that's able to be unbiased and not necessarily take a position, someone that's not going to cater to special interest groups and make deals behind closed doors. You need someone that's going to be open and accountable, and I'm that person for Norfolk County.
Great. Thank you very much, everyone. So we're going to give each candidate the opportunity for 2 minutes for closing statements. And we're going to flip the script, and we're going to start at the back of the alphabet. So we're going to start with Ian.
I'm just going to stand up here. Thank you. Well, in closing, I just want to thank the Waterford and District Chamber of Commerce, the Simcoe and District Chamber of Commerce, and the Port Dover Board of Trade for this opportunity. I want to explain to you, Ian Rabbits, what you can expect if you choose to elect me as mayor. I am going to be a full-time mayor. You can expect that commitment. I'm not going to have any other responsibilities. I intend to open up Town Hall and really support my councilors. I feel that having served 4 years on council, as a councilor, I very well understand what a councilor needs in order to be successful. I intend to have, like I said, normal hours of operation so staff can engage with me, so I can engage with staff. I want to have monthly meetings with my councilors, not to advance business outside of county chambers, but to ensure that they're equipped to be successful. When they're bringing motions forward, we don't want to be making policy decisions on the fly. I want them to be well prepared. I want them to have all the information available to them in advance of a meeting. I don't want to be making these decisions out of emotion or on the spot. I don't want to play gotcha with staff. I want to make sure that our staff members are sent questions in advance so they have the time to appropriately research and provide accurate information, so we don't have to have reconsidered votes, so we don't make errors or omissions. That's the type of mayor that I want to be. I want to be a mayor that's accountable to you. I want to be a fun mayor as well. You know, I want to engage with our educational partners. I want to build public-private partnerships. Sorry, that's a tongue twister. But that's the type of mayor that I am. I'm a volunteer in the community, a member of the Simcoe Lions Club, a mess member with the 69th Field Battery Association. I do very much enjoy supporting our veterans. I think ultimately supporting volunteers, supporting not-for-profit groups, and including them in public decision-making is ultimately a pathway that's going to ensure a strong future for Norfolk County. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. So as we're going down the line, just because we are on Facebook Live, I am going to ask everyone to make sure you're as close to your microphone as possible so you're being picked up. Amy?
Well, thank you again, everyone, for your time. Thank you for listening. I hope that your takeaways from my commentary tonight is that I came here and presented fact-based and forward-looking information. We have a lot of work yet to do here in Norfolk County as we continue to weather the storm. And at a bare minimum, we need to plan ahead to replace infrastructure and maintain the status quo on services, if not increase our service level. What you've heard is that we need to continue to be bold in our future approach, and that concerns me deeply. Although we've had a financial surplus, our financial reports will state that the majority of that is due to service level reductions and provincial funding due to the pandemic. I fear that our previous leadership was bold enough. This is our opportunity to revisit our roots, to choose a competent, community-oriented leader that will not only stabilize our corporation, but stabilize our community. From this election forward and every one on in the future, you can count on property taxes, projects in the queue, and inflation being issues come debate time. It's time to focus on leadership that will stabilize regardless of the aforementioned. Again, through addressing the 5 pillars of my campaign, looking at infrastructure, communication and transparency, positive relationship building, strengthening our reputation and succession planning, we can begin to put Norfolk's best foot forward and highlight only the very best of our community. Leadership cannot divide. It must bring every member of Norfolk County together to work to rebuild our community. In doing so, we can continue to lay a solid foundation that generations for years to come will reap the benefits of. Folks, this is our Norfolk County, and the work starts right now. Thank you.
Bill.
Thank you. Day one, the council and the mayor need to discuss their roles. It's simple. Be prepared, read your reports, and get back to your constituents. Staff with proper policy, direction, and the tools will be there to carry out the instructions of council, all for the betterment of Norfolk. We need to revitalize our downtown cores, and we must address keeping the streets safe for our citizens and businesses. The focus should be on creating a vibrant space for small businesses to thrive. Norfolk needs to work to create more jobs and assist in developing skills training. Preparing citizens for the workforce must be a priority. There's a high demand for skilled workers. These tasks are challenging. We need to create an environment where youth and young families want to work, can work, and want to live here and not commute to the large urban areas. This county has strong agricultural roots. We all love to eat. It's imperative that we are grateful to our phenomenal farmers, and we must respect everything that they deserve. What can we do to support our local agriculture going in the future? We need to listen and respond to those farming communities. I have a friend I've known for over 40 years, farmer in this community. This gentleman has been one of the most active community-minded individuals in Norfolk his entire life. Right now, all his awards, pins, and plaques for community service are in a box. He wants to deliver them to county council and say he no longer wants them. He's embarrassed by what has happened to this county. I said, keep the box. Let's once again make you proud of this place you call your home. Let's see if we can get him back on your wall. We can all work as a team, from Frogmore to Vanessa, from Boston to Port Dover, and from Long Point to Cortland, and all the points in between. Remember, Bill Culver for mayor.
Crystal.
Make no mistake, Norfolk County as a corporation is a beast of an organization. As a single-tier municipality, we are responsible for it all: fire, ambulance, public health, long-term care, public works, and so on. Our tax levy last year was $102 million. Our capital plan was $44 million. The water and wastewater rate budget was $23 million. Over the next 10 years, we have more than $800 million forecasted in asset and infrastructure investments. The council you vote to represent you is effectively the board of directors for an organization that has over $500 million in assets and will be responsible for overseeing the spend of more than $2 billion in the next decade. Any board overseeing a corporation this size in the private sector would have in-depth industry knowledge and a strong financial acumen. But what I've seen over the past 4 years is a board of directors that frankly struggles to understand basic financial principles, and as a taxpayer myself that loathes paying taxes and thinks we spend far too much on special interest pet projects, that lack of financial acumen on council is how we got to this point. When staff recommend a cheaper option of paved shoulders versus $250,000 sidewalks, it's because they are finally looking at the bigger picture. And that bigger picture is that over this next term of council, we will carry $100 million in debt exclusive of our water and wastewater woes. Leaders make tough calls when the situation demands it. And under my leadership, council made some of the tough calls that should have been made years ago. Anyone promising you sunshine and lollipops is lying to you. As a politician in Norfolk, I'm in a unique position. No one else on this stage can offer you a master's in business administration, a law degree, and a civil engineering degree, and I have the ability to see strategically from 35,000 feet. I need 4 more years to complete what I've started, to entrench the culture of accountability I've fostered, and keep the good ship Norfolk on course for sunny harbors. I also want 4 more years to focus on what prompted me to run in the first place, creating a Norfolk County that we are all proud of and one which is truly open for your business. You may not have always liked my tactics, but I will never apologize for fighting and fighting hard for Norfolk. Keep chopping.
David.
That was impressive. Okay. Hey, I haven't, have I started? Oh, too bad. Okay. I'm nervous up here, so I do make fun and jokes sometimes, just to, you know, you have to come up here and try this, just to, in front of all these people. But I do not think that Norfolk is a joke. I take it very seriously. I've been here all my life. I work with the youth theater. Our youths there, they put on perfect shows. If you ever want to see a good show, go to the Circle Theater and see the youth theater. The kids are great. I work hard with the Lions. I built my business from a Chevette. So when I came to your house, put your duct and furnace in, it was several trips. That's how I built my business. I judge my money very carefully. My wife is my best bookkeeper, so I know how to budget. I know how money is worked. Money has to be, especially from the taxpayers, it's got to be put in the right places at the right time. And volunteers, I think volunteers are the backbone of this community, and the more volunteers, we've had volunteers go out on the environmental committee, gone out and pull, I couldn't tell you how many picnic tables out of the Lynn River, okay? But I take it very seriously. As you got me in from there, I would take it very seriously. I would learn what Lady Chop has learned. So I know this is very nervous up here. Were you nervous the first time?
For sure.
Yeah, okay. That's why I haven't been looking at you guys. But I do take it very seriously. Was that my 22nd bell? Okay.
Vote Bates.
Yeah. Hey.
Okay, well, first of all, I do want to thank all the candidates for coming out this evening. Again, if I can just ask everybody to please stay seated until we finish, because this is still being live streamed, just so there's not a lot of noise. I do thank the Port Dover Board of Trade and the Waterford Chamber of Commerce for their sponsorship tonight. Jordan from Black Creek Music, thank you very much, and Stuart from Stoic Media. Tonight's debate will be posted on the Simcoe District Chamber of Commerce Facebook page, and I believe on their website tomorrow morning. Just as a reminder, there is a Ward 5 debate tomorrow night here at the Legion, so same time, same place. And at the Waterford tomorrow night for Ward 7, as well too for the Ward 7 candidates. September the 29th, the Long Point County Chamber of Commerce is having a Ward 1 and mayoral debate. And Delhi on October the 6th is Ward 2, Ward 3, and Ward 4 and the mayor one. So that's going to be a jam-packed evening. And I don't have any information right now on the Ward 6 one, but if we do get that, we will share it on our social media pages as well too. Thank you very much to the Legion for letting us host the event here tonight. Wendy, our timekeeper, I know that you did throw off Dave a couple of times when he wasn't quite finished, but anyways, thank you. You did a good job tonight. And again, I think that you're all here tonight because you believe that it's important to learn about all the candidates and what they've got to say and the importance of getting out and voting. I guess if I could ask somebody to do any one thing, it's to, please, talk to some other people, and if you know that they are not voting, encourage them to get out and vote and exercise their right to do that. I'm a firm believer that if you don't vote, you don't get a say on what's happening within the community. So, you have to get out and put your name behind that ballot. And to the chamber staff, our executive director, Terry Dow, organized the evening. So thank you very much, Terry, and all of our volunteers over there. And to the security that was kind of sitting in the crowd somewhere, thank you. We didn't need you tonight. And to Emma, thank you for co-moderating tonight. And that's it. So thank you very much. Have a great evening.